Alright, class. In today's lesson, we're going to create a buttons. So what's the use of button? For example, when we finish the race, we enter the finish line. On the screen, gonna pump up button that we can click to go back to the main menu or quit the game. Okay. And during the game, when we want to go to the restroom, we want to pause the game, right? So on the screen, we're going to give it a pause button, so we can click on pause the game. And when we come back, there's a continue button that we can click to continue the game. Okay, so now let's see how we can do it. So we're going to go to the game object, go to UI, go to legacy button. Okay, and let's rename the button as button main menu first. Okay, and inside there, for the text, we're gonna say, we're gonna rename this text box as main menu, and then inside of, okay, so let's select the button, press F key, so you will see where is it, how it looks. Okay, so inside of this text box here, we're gonna type main menu. Okay, so basically this one is the text box inside of the button, and top one is the texture of the button. So right now we didn't give it any texture. So now let me show you how to change it. So go to the assets folder, go to the texture folder, okay, and then go to the folder I provided, texture folder, and here I included two different buttons. Okay, so if you know Photoshop, you can make it yourself. Okay, and then okay, yeah, I have a lot of screen open. So now let's bring in the buttons in here. Okay, so should find it here. I already imported the ones, so let me just delete this I imported earlier. Okay, so now after you imported the texture, it cannot be used directly. For example, if I select the button, say here's the place where you can change the texture. So when I drop the image, it doesn't work. Why? Because for the image, if we want to use it directly as a texture for the mountains, for the road, for the car, vehicle, model, or anything, it works because it's a standard texture, right? However, say if you select the button, take a look at the source image requirement. It has to be a UI spirit format. So that means we have to select the image and changes the format. So we have to change the texture type from default to Spirit 2D and UI is cut off. So here, default, see, the is specifically for UI, so you have to select that and then scroll down. Here compression, we're going to change to high quality and apply. Okay, so now if you select your button and add the source image here, you can just drop the button to there. Okay, as you can see, it's compressed a lot. So we just go to the button's width and height, change the height to 160 as well, because my original texture, see, my original texture is a square shape, right? So for the button, is a button box, it should also be a square shape, so you're going to keep its original proportion. All right, so now let's go to the manual text. Scroll down. Here for the font size, we're gonna change from 14 to 20. Color, we're gonna change it from black to white. Okay, so this is the manual button. And then let's select the manual button. Let's move it to the side and hit Command D to make a duplication, and we're gonna rename it to button quit. So with this button, we'll be able to quit the game. So in the text box, we're gonna also rename this text box as quit, and for the text on it, we're gonna also use quit. Okay, and then for these two buttons, we want its anchor point to be center. So by default, it's already centered, so that's fine. So basically, these two buttons are gonna keep centered. So now we want to group these two together because this main menu button and the quit button will only show up when you finish the game. So when the finish text is showing up, and then you're gonna have these two buttons, right? So here first we're gonna select these two buttons and bring it down underneath the finish text, and then we're going to go to game object and UI and legacy and text. Okay, so we will only use this text object as a kind of a folder, as a holder for these two buttons. So we'll not type anything on it. So actually here we're going to rename it as a finish panel. Okay, finish panel. And go to is the setting. So here for the text box, again the set, we will not type anything. We will not use it to show up any text. We will only use it as a folder. So now for the finish panel, we're gonna drop in these two buttons inside it, right? So we can control the two buttons as a whole. We can hide it or we can enable it. Okay, so that's the use of it. Okay, so now let's test it. So now if I change my screen size, these two buttons should always be in the center. See, it always keep in the center. Okay, so that's good. So this is the finish panel. So now let's create a pause button. So when we want to pause the game, okay, so we're gonna have a button here. So we're going to we're gonna go to the finish panel and just duplicate one of these buttons. Hit Command D, duplicate, move it up, and then move it out from the finish panel. And here we're gonna rename it to button pause. Okay, here for the text, we're gonna also rename the text box as pause, and for the text, name it as pause. Okay, so select the button itself, bring it at the top left corner, and in this case, because we always want this button to stay at the left top corner, so we need to go to its anchor point, change its anchor point to left top corner. That's very important. Okay, and then select your finish panel. So finish panel and hit Command D to make a duplication. What's use of it? Because for the finish panel, now we're going to make the pause panel. What is the pause panel? See, once you clicked on the pause button, this pause button will disappear, right? Because you will not be able to pause the game twice. So once you click on the pause button gonna disappear, and then on the screen it's gonna be a continue button. You want to continue the game, or you want to go to the main menu, or you want to quit. So pause. Once you click on pause button, so 3 buttons gonna showing up, right? So that gonna be pause panel. Okay, so pause menu, we want them to be on the same level, and then go to the pause panel and go to the main menu button, center it. Okay, make sure it's equal space, and then for the pause button, I'm gonna hit Command D to duplicate it. Okay, and select the original one and hide it. And for the duplication, I'm gonna rename it as button continue. Okay, so in the text box, I'm gonna also rename the text box as continue, and for the text showing up on the bottom, I'm gonna say continue. Okay, and then I'm going to get this continue button inside of the pause text box. Okay, and then for this pause panel, you would also need to change its anchor point to left top corner, because we always want this whole panel to stay at the left top corner, right? So whenever we change the screen size, see, it's gonna stay on the left top corner. Okay, so basically what's gonna happen is, by default, you're gonna have this pause button. Once you click on that, the pause button gonna disappear, and pause panel gonna show up. Okay, so that's the plan. All right, then we have to save the game first. So Command S to save the game, and then we're going to go back to assets folder, go to the scenes folder, and here we're going to create a manual scene. So when we enter the game, we don't want it to go direct into racing. Instead, we want a manual scene that we can select different tracks. Okay, so this scene, our current scene is the track 1, and we want to create a second tree or second track or a third track, in different scenes. So we want to be able to choose it. Okay, so we need a manual scene to do that. So we will be able to select which racing track we want to choose. Okay, so we're gonna select the sample scene. Hit Command D to make a duplication and rename it to scene 0. Okay, scene 0, main menu. I should have the main menu as a scene 1 and track 1 be scene 2. Okay, but anyway, since I already have the name in place, I will not change it for now. Okay, so now we have the main menu scene. We're gonna enter it there. Go to game object and UI and legacy, and we're gonna create buttons again. So for this button, we're gonna rename it as button track 1, because we want to be able to select different track. And for the text box, I also rename it as the track 1, and the text showing up on the button gonna be track 1. Okay, and then for the button, I'm gonna go back to assets folder, go to the texture folder, and change the button's texture. Okay, button's size is gonna be 160, height. Yeah, so and then for the track text, I'm gonna change the color as white and the font size as 20. So this is the track 1, and let's change it to the center left, and then hit Command D to make a duplication. Here we're going to rename it to track 2. Okay, and on the side here we're going to have a quit button. So if our player don't want to play our game, they have the option to quit the game before it gets started. And let's move this button to the side, and then let's select all these 3 buttons and let's center them. So make sure on the edge they have the equal space. And for all of these 3 buttons, make sure they're anchor point in the center. Okay, so by default it's in the center already. Track 1, track 2, quit. Yeah. So for the main menu, we'll just have these 3 buttons. For demonstration purpose, I want to keep everything simple and easy. All right. So now let's save the scene, and let's go back to our track 1. So this is the track 1. Okay, so now let's get all of these buttons to function. Here, before we get started, we're going to go to game object and create an empty object. So we're going to use this empty object to hold the button script we're going to use. Okay, so here we're going to rename it to button script object. I'm going to drop this object into canvas folder. Okay, yeah, here's the file. So button script object. Okay, and then go back to the assets folder, go to its script folder, and we're going to bring in the button function script. So here we go. So go to the script start folder. Okay, not the finish folder. So we're gonna go to here, bring in the button function script. So I already imported it. Okay, so once the script is imported, drop the button function script onto the button script object. Okay, so you're gonna hold the script. And here you can see that it has 2 variables. We just have to assign. One is the button pause, one is the button palo. Okay, so I noticed that I deactivated. So just to keep all of them activated. Okay, by default. So now select the button script. Assign button pause button to here. Sorry. Assign the yeah, pause panel to the pause panel. Yeah, pause button to pause button. Here we go. Okay, so now before I get started, let me explain you what the script is. Here, let me just make more room at the bottom so I can show you the full script. Yeah, here we go. So in the beginning, we gave two different variables we want to assign. One is the pause pedal, one is the pause buttons. Why we do that? Because we're going to deactivate and activate one after another, right? So when you click on pause button, you're going to deactivate pause button and activate the pause pedal, right? So we will do that in the script. So that's why we need to assign these variables. Okay, so in the beginning of the game, the pause pedal will be deactivated. Only the pause button is showing up. Okay, so when you start the game, okay, and when you see the main menu button, if you click on the main menu button, you're gonna go to the scene manager, and you're gonna load a scene. That scene's index number is 0. So the index number basically is the order of the scene. So I'm gonna show you what is the scene's order and where you can find it and how to change it later. Okay. So you're gonna load a scene, the index number is 0, and also in that scene the time scale is 1. So what does time scale equal 1 means? So that means in that scene the time is normal, it's a normal time, so the time is running is equal to the real time. Okay, why we mention this in here is because there's a occasion that we will click on a button. For example, we click on pause button, and then the time scale gonna be turned to 0. So that means the time gonna be freeze. Time won't move at all. So there's a no time at all. Okay. So because we will be able to change the time to 0, we don't want that happens. So once we pause the game, and in the pause panel there's a see there's a main menu button, right? So if we click on the main menu, we jump to a different scene, but because we already set the time scale as 0, so when we enter the main menu scene, the time scale is still at 0, so time is freeze, right? We don't want that happen. So we want to, once we enter the scene, by default that scene's time should be normal. Okay, does that make sense? So it just prevent us to jump from the pause panel to the main menu or the track scene. Okay. All right. So just like that, you understand. If you click on the track 1 button in the main menu, you're going to know the scene that index number is 1. If you click on track 2 button, you're gonna know the scene the index number is 2. Once you click on quit game button, you're gonna quit the game. But remember, this cannot work while we're in Unity because now we're at the developer tool. So this quit button will only work when you publish your game. Okay, so once you click on the pause button, the pause button gonna be disappeared. It's gonna be hidden, and the pause panel gonna show up. Okay, so the pause button is going to be disappeared, the pause panel going to show up. Once you click on continue, okay, the pause panel going to be disappeared and pause button going to turn back on and the time will set back to normal. So that's the whole script. Okay, so now let me turn the pause panel back on again. Okay, because in the script I already said once you start the game, you're going to deactivate it. So we don't have to worry about it. Okay, so now we have the script and we have gave the script to here this object. So how to make all this button functioning? Okay, so first let's start with the pause button. Okay, so first let's select the pause button, and to make the button to function to work, you have to select the button, scroll down to the bottom, and here you see the unclick function. By default, unclick function is empty, so you just have to create a function, and here what the function is. So we just need to drop this object that contains the script for the button. Okay, once it's loaded, and here for the function, it will be able to find the button function that we have write is cut off. Let me show you. So if I click on the function, so you're gonna go to the button function. So here I can find pause, right? So that is the pause function here. I write in the script. Okay, so you're gonna work, and then I'm gonna temporarily hide this pause button and show the pause panel. So now let's select the continue button. So we're gonna also scroll down here, add, add a function, and here I'm gonna drop in the button text. Where is it? Yeah, button script. Drop it here. And then because this is the continue button, so for the function, I'm gonna go to button function continue. So that is the continue function. Okay. Yeah. So now you want to do it faster. I'm gonna select both of them and click on create a function and drop in the button script onto it. So this is gonna assign to both of them. Okay. So now I'm gonna select individual of them. First is the main menu. Okay, and just go directly to the function, button function, and node main menu. Okay, so that is the node main menu function, and then select the quit and go to the function and select a quit game. So that's the quit the game function. Okay, so this button will work. Yeah, we just have to do this one more time. So select both of them, these two buttons. Scroll down, click function, add a function, and drop the button script here. And then select the main menu button, go to the function, and node main menu. Quit button, go to the function, quit the game function. Okay, so now all of this button can work. Okay, so all we have to do is hit Command S to save the scene, and then jump back to the main menu. So now let's go to the scenes, go to the main menu scene, and we have to do the same thing at here. So we're going to go to the canvas. Okay, go to canvas, go to game object, create an empty object, and rename it to button script. Button script. All right, and we just have to assign the button function script onto it. Okay, and in this scene, we have a kind of odd situation, right? It asks us to assign the pause panel and pause button because on the script we mentioned that, right? But on the main menu, we will not use pause button or pause panel. It's not useful. Okay, but we don't want to write another script. We just want to use one script to do every scene, right? So what you can do is here, basically you can just create an empty object and just say, you can say trash 1, trash 2. Okay, two object, trash 1, trash 2. So this is going to just be a holder for the script. So when we enter the game, it will not pump up error say, okay, you have a script and the script has two variables and you haven't assigned. So it will not pump up the error message, right? So we just get these two here. Okay, so now we have our button script ready, and then we just select these three buttons, and we scroll down, go to unclick, create a click function, and drop the button script onto here, and then go to each individual button, and for the function, go to the button function, so this is the select track 1, right? Button track 1, function is the select track 1. So that is here, that is this part. Okay, track 2, I'm gonna move fast because now you're supposed to understand this whole thing. So track 2 function should be select track 2, and quit function is basically to quit the game. Okay, so once everything has been set up, you can start the game, but I don't think, the button is functioning. Okay, but it was still not working. Why? Remember, even though the button is functioning, so when we click on select track 1, you're gonna notice seeing that index number is number 1. However, the question is, which scene is index number 1, right? We haven't assigned it. So we have to tell the software the correct scene order and we have to be specific which scene is track 1, index number is 1. Okay, so now we have to go back to SS, go to the scenes folder. So here we have different scenes. Okay, so now if you go to tool menu file, go to build setting. So basically build setting is before you publishing your game, you set up all of the settings to build the game. Okay, so here we simply will just select scene 0 main menu and scene 01 and drag them into here. Okay, so now this scene gonna be included in the game. So here, what does this means is if you only include, for example, if you only include scene 1, so when you build the game, only scene 1 will be included in the game. Main menu scene will be excluded. So we need to drag both of them in here if you want both of the two scenes in your game. Okay, so here's the index number. Okay, index number right now, scene 01, index number is 0, main menu index number is 1. But if you check the script, the track 1, which is the scene 1, okay, the index number actually is supposed to be the 1. And the main menu, the index number is supposed to be 0. So their order has to be switched. So just grab them, grab them, and you will be able to switch the order. It's easy like that. All right, so main menu index number is 0, scene 01 index number is 1. We will have a scene 02 index number as 2 later on. Okay, since now we haven't created, so we'll leave it blank. All right, so now if you test the game, if I place click on play button, okay. All right, now you should see it's gonna work. So if I click on track 1, you're gonna load first scene. How cool is that? And if I where the button is still here, so we'll need to hide it later. Okay, we'll change the script. So now if I click on main menu, you're gonna go back to this scene. Okay. All right, so it's working. So now let's fix the small error we had. So let's go to scene 1. So by default, these two buttons are here. Okay, so now this will connect to our previous lesson. Remember the countdown time? Okay, if I go to scene countdown, countdown script. Yeah, here, countdown script. So if I open it, okay, in the script, we mentioned that we have countdown audio. Oh, okay. My bad. It's not in the countdown script. It's actually in the finish line script. Finish line trigger. Yes, on the finish line trigger. So remember, on the finish line trigger, we have a finish line camera switch. So once the car entered the finish line, and then you're gonna show up the menu, right? The menu page. That is the menu. Okay, the finish line manual. So when we were in our previous class, since we haven't created a button, so we just created a trash object, a template project as a holder for here, right? So now we can replace it. So now while you select the finish line trigger, go back to the finish line camera, and here's the menu page. So we'll just have to replace this guy with a finish panel. Okay. Yeah, here with the finish panel. Finish panel is these two buttons. Okay, so place it at here at the finish line camera script. Okay. Another thing is for the button pause, I'm going to enable it so it's on the screen in the beginning. Okay, so now if I test the game, it should work perfectly. So let me switch back to the main menu scene. Okay, now let me enter the game. Oh, okay. So now if I click on track 1, say now the button disappeared, and we do still have a pause button. See, if I click on that, game is hold. And if I click on continue, it's moving. Hold, moving, hold, and I can click on main menu to quit. And then I can click on track 1 to restart the game. Alright. Here we have a small small bug to fix is that, see, once the finish panel showing up, we have the main menu and quit, right? And the pause button is still there. See? So actually when we enter the finish line, this pause button should be disabled. So we will not be able to, pause the game or continue the game. Alright. So how can we change that? Let's go to the finish line camera. So once our car enter the finish line camera, okay, once our car enter the finish line camera, remember we have a script which is let me find it. Finish line camera switch. So just open it. Let me reopen it. Finish line camera switch. Yeah, here we go. So once our car is entered here, once our car as a player enter the trigger, right? So you're going to showing up the finish text and turn on the finish line camera, and you're going to start this coroutine and wait for 2 seconds, and then you're going to show the menu page, which is the final panel, the buttons. So here we want to also disable the what is called the pause button. So here we need to assign the variable, so we can assign it in the game. Okay, so just copy this part, paste it here. For game object, here we change it to final button. Oh, sorry, pause button. Okay, and then here before you start to go coroutine, we can also just copy this part, nap timer, set active. Okay, so set active as false. So who will be set as false? Which is the pause button. So once we enter the finish line camera, we enter the finish line, you're going to turn off the pause button. So that's it. So hit Command S to save the script. Go back and wait for it to update. The script is finished updating. We're going to go to the finish line, finish line trigger, go back to the finish line camera switch. Here you will find the new variable we assign, right? The pause button. So we have to assign the pause button, which is in the canvas. Okay, canvas, pause panel, button pause. Yeah, here. So we're going to assign the pause button onto pause button channel. Okay, so now that problem is fixed. Okay, so now let's move on. So now, as you know, when the player enter the finish line, on the screen it says, okay, finish, you win. But what if we lose the game? So when we are start from the starting point, if our AI car is driven faster than us, so what gonna happen? When the AI car passes this on the screen, we're gonna pump up, you lose. Okay, so let's do that. So let's go to canvas. Okay, let's just copy the finish text. Hit Command D to copy it, and this one we're gonna rename it to. You lose text, and just bring it underneath the finish panel so we can keep everything organized. So select this guy, press F key to jump back to here. So for the you lose text, we're gonna say you lose. Okay, and we need to change the text box. So we're gonna grab this one, change the text box, and reposition it. Make sure it's centered. Here we go. Okay, so these text will only show up when the AI car arrived earlier than us. Okay, so here we're going to go to finish line trigger, and we're going to create a new empty object, and this one I'm going to say you lose music. Okay, we're going to play music when you lose. It's the same as a finish music, right? So you lose music. Now let's go to the audio folder and bring in the audio you lose. All right, so it's yeah, this one. All right, so we're going to drop this you lose music onto the you lose audio. Okay, so check off play on awake because we don't want it to start to play once the game is awake. So we want it to be called. And 2D sound is fine, okay, because we don't need it to be 3D. So you lose music. Okay, so now let's import the script. So go to the script folder. Let's go to script start again. Remember, not the script finish. We want to go to the start one so I can explain you more and we can develop it together. So bring in the script into here. Once the script is loaded, we're going to apply it to the finish line trigger. Remember the finish line trigger? We have the finish line camera switch script and also the fireworks switch. So we're going to also drop in the you lose script on it. So here are the variables we need to assign. So first is you lose text. So here we go. You lose text to it. And then you lose music. And you lose camera. Okay, we need to create a camera later. But here is the car camera group because on the script we will disable the car camera. I'm gonna explain you the script later. But right now let's just assign it. So that's the cars camera holder. It includes say it includes the perspective camera, the first person camera, all of those stuff. And then is the car group. Okay, and the AI car, yeah, here AI car, and then is the manual page, which is the finish line manual page. So finish line manual page, finisher panel. Okay, so that's the finisher panel. And then the nap timer. So once the AI car enter the finish line, we will also stop counting time, right? You're gonna show up the final panel, finisher panel, which is the manual and quit the game. Okay, so that's it. And then the nap timer, which is the text script holder for the time board. Okay, I should have a better name, maybe time script holder. Okay, or something. So anyway, the finish and trigger the nap timer, it basically is this one. The script, the timer script we have used to show up the time on the time board. Okay, so just make sure you assign the correct one. Okay, so that is finish and trigger. Yeah, that is the you lose script. But remember, we still need a camera. Is a you lose camera. So after AI car enter the finish line, so our car's camera gonna be disabled. So we're gonna switch to you lose camera. So you can have a camera which is far away from your player. So that can be you lose camera. So once you lose the game, the camera view gonna be like this. Okay, so let's create it. So let's go to the cars folder. We can just go to the camera folder and select the perspective car camera. So this is the perspective camera's view. We can just duplicate it, move it out from the camera holder group because we want this to be separate, right? It will not be activated or deactivated together with the camera holder. So this new camera, we're gonna rename it to you lose camera. And for you lose camera, I'm going to just move it away from the car, from our player, move it away, really far away from it. Okay, but I still want it to move with the car, so that's why it's still in the car group. Okay, so now let's select the finish line trigger and add the ULOOS script, the ULOOS camera, just assign the camera you just created. Okay, so double check everything is correct. And then you can test the play the game. Okay, so now our AI car is almost here. Boom. Oh, sorry. Okay. Yeah, see? Now it entered the finish line. So now it pump up the ULOOS screen. And also it switch to the ULOOS camera view. Okay, and here you see we still have a few bugs we have to fix. First is the pause button. We have to hide it once our AI car entered it, right? And here, let me show you another bug. Another bug, so I'm waiting for AI car to come and start to run. So now as you can see, the AI car entered the trigger first, and then my player entered the trigger. So both the you win, you finish, and you lose text showing up. So what that happened is, why that happened is because if I select the finish line trigger, okay, and let me mute here. Okay, so basically both our player and the AI car triggered this finish line trigger to activate the finish line camera switch script and you lose the script. Okay, so this is the second bug. So all we have to do is whatever entered this finish line trigger, it can be the player or it can be AI car. So once one object entered this trigger, we disable this box collider. So by doing that, we disable this trigger. Okay, does that make sense? So the first object entered it, and then the box collider deactivated, and then the second car cannot activate anything here because it's not a trigger at all. The box collider is hidden. Okay, so that's what we will need to do. And also, as I mentioned, you have the pause button and the main menu button both showing up. So we're gonna fix that. All right. So let's hold on. Let me go back to finish line trigger. Yeah, we have to disable that. So let's switch to ULOOS script. So just go open the ULOOS script here. So here we're going to just copy this part. We're going to paste. We're going to declare object, which is the pause button, because we want to disable it, right? So we have to call it here. Okay, so here the first line we're going to disable it. We're going to just copy this part and put it here and change this to pause button. So make sure caps lock P exactly the same as the name convention here. So pause button set active false. So you're gonna deactivate pause button once the AI car entered this trigger, right? So once the AI car entered the trigger, we lose, so the pause button gonna be deactivated. Okay, so the second variable we're going to call is the finish line trigger, because we need to deactivate the box collider, right? So gonna be finish line trigger. Okay, so we're going to just copy the second one, okay, because we need to get its component. Instead of deactivate the whole object, we need to get its component to deactivate. So we're gonna be the finish line trigger. Okay, so we're gonna copy the finish line trigger, the name, and paste it here. Okay, finish line trigger, get its component. What component is the finish line trigger? Is the box collider. See, so make sure the name you put here is exactly the same. Box collider. So no space, okay, but caps lock B, caps lock B, and caps lock C. Okay, so disable the box collider once the AI car entered it. Okay, so Command S to save the script. And now let me do another test. Let's go back to Unity and select the finish line trigger, and let's assign these two variables we just declared. One is the pause button is here, pause button, and one is the finish line trigger, which is itself. All right, so now let me start the game. So once it's very close, I'm gonna start to run. Okay, run. All right, now you see that the AI car entered the trigger. AI car entered the trigger and it says you lose, and then my the player's car entered the trigger and nothing happened, right? So that's it. Um, now we just have to double check um, the other one, the camera, the car switch camera. Oh, not this one. Sorry, the finish line camera switch script. Yeah, I have too many script. So on this one, this script. So when my player entered the trigger, so we will disable the collider for the finish line trigger too, right? So our AI car will not be able to do anything with it. Does that make sense? So if our player entered it earlier, so AI car will not be able to do anything with the trigger. So here we're going to um, add the public game object. We can just copy it from the Unity script. So basically, game object finish line trigger, right? We can just copy paste it here. And then the next line is once finish line trigger. Yes, this line. So once our player entered the trigger, okay, so this is in finish line camera switch script, remember. So once the player entered the trigger, and then what will happen is the finish line trigger, the box collider gonna be disabled. Okay, that's it. So Command S to save the script. The script is fully updated here on the Unity side, and then let's select the finish line trigger. Let's go back to its finish line camera switch, and here's the new variable we just assigned, right? Which is the finish line trigger, which is itself. We just need to assign it. Okay, Command S to save it, and I will not test it anymore because I know it's gonna work, right? So for the AI car and the player car, one of them will be able to activate the trigger, and the other one who's after the first one will not be able to activate the trigger. So that's what we want to do. Okay, so next we're going to create the second track. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I think I'm gonna just select the scene one, hit Command C to copy, but before I do that, make sure you save your scene by hit Command S to save your scene first, and then select a scene 01, hit Command D to duplicate the scene, and the new one I'm gonna rename it to scene 02. Okay, so now let's open scene 02. So now, because we just duplicated, they are the same, so nothing seems changed. But now you can see that I'm at scene 02. Okay, all I want you to do is first, okay, select your directional light, which is this guy, okay, and let's change the color to dark blue, and not very saturated, like a little bit grayish blue. Okay, and change its intensity. Well, let's just keep the intensity at 1 for now, because otherwise we will not be able to see anything. Okay, it's too dark. So now let's go to window. Let's go to rendering, lighting, and in the setting, let's go to environment. Let's turn off the skybox. So instead of use the default skybox, let's just well, here we don't have any material created. Okay, anyway, so we're gonna create a material. So let me put it on the side here. Let's go to maybe just a texture folder, and let's just right create create a material, and this one I'm gonna say dark sky or sky in the night or anything you can memorize. Okay, so for this new material, I'm gonna just change this color to dark blue, very dark, and a little bit grayish. Yeah, okay, so dark sky. Let me copy his name. So this is the material I just created, and switch back to the window I just opened, right? And here for the material, instead of use the default sky material, I'm gonna just search the material I created. So select it, dark sky. So here is it. All right, is in the night, and I think for the material, Okay, for the material, let's also, let me see, turn off is the smoothness, so there's no reflection at all. All right, so now let's select the car, go back to our car. Before we make this environment too dark, okay, let's add some lighting. So let's go to game object. Let's create a light and create a spotlight. Here's our spotlight. Okay, so let's just move it up and rotate it, aim to the front. Make sure you just rotate the red axis, aim to the front, and place it on the car's light. So this is gonna be our headlight. Okay. I lose it. Okay, so spotlight, push it down, make sure the position is accurate. Alright. Alright, so for the range, I want to make it to be able to lighten further. So I'm gonna put maybe 250 so we can see farther, right? Yeah. And I think I have to rotate a little bit more. So here I'm gonna just put 180, so it's kind of flat. Okay, it's horizontally aiming forward. And spark angle I think is fine. And intensity I would increase it a little bit, like this. Maybe try 4. And shadow, yes, I'm gonna choose a soft shadow. And color, I'm gonna make it as a yellowish color. Okay, so once I got the first one, I got to say car headlight 1. All right, and I'm gonna hit Command D to make a duplication and move it to the other side. And also I want this car light to move with my car, right? So I'm going to drop this into the car group. Come on. Okay, drop them into the car group. Here we go. All right, so now let me select the car and go back to the start point, which is there. So select this whole car group, move back to the start line. All right, and reset its rotation, so it's aiming forward. So now let's duplicate the 2 headlight. So go to the car group, duplicate these 2 headlight, move them to the right, and also move them out of the cars group. And we want to use these for the AI car. Yeah, AI car. Okay, this one is here, and the other one, which is this one, so gonna move it this way. Okay, so once you set them up, drop them into the AI car group, so they're gonna move together. All right, so now we can jump back to the lighting window we were there earlier. So go to rendering lighting. Okay, you can go back to here. So here in the setting, we're going to play with the light source. We're going to choose color, and instead of gradient, we're going to choose a pure black. And shadow color, let's try. Okay, nothing changed. Okay, anyway, so the shadow color will keep it the same, but the environment reflection we're gonna do custom. And yeah, we can set it as empty. So now you can see the environment is really dark, really dark. Okay, we can rarely see the environment. Maybe it's too dark. And then we can select our directional light and maybe increase the intensity a little bit so we can see a little bit environment. So maybe try 1.3. Okay, so now hit Command S. Let me test the game to see how it looks, how the lighting looks. Yeah, looks cool. Yeah, I like to drive in a light mode. Looks cool. All right. Once you finish building the track 2, the second scene here, okay, so now we just have to go back to build setting and add the second scene into here, into the build setting. So now as you can see, the index number is 2. Remember in the script, the button function, we have this function that when you click on the button, track 2, you're going to load a scene, index number is 2. So that is this one, scene 2. All right. Close. All right. So now let's add music. So we have the main menu music. We have track 1 music. We have track 2, which is this one. Okay, track 2 is a bit loud, so we have to lower it down the volume. So here first, let's drop these 3 music track into our assets folder, music folder. Audio folder, sorry. Drop them in here since I already import them. All right. So now, since we already add scene 2, so let's just create a music for scene 2 first. So let's go to game object, create empty, and let's rename it to music track 2. Okay, and then let's drop the music track 2 onto this object. So here we go. So make sure you check on play on wake. So once we started the game, the music going to start to play and loop the music. Okay, and 2D sound is good because the music gonna constantly play in the background. But we may need to lower down the volume. So here I'm gonna just lower it down to 0.4 or something. I think because the volume is too high. You can adjust this, test it and adjust the volume and find the best volume. So here let's save the scene. Command S to save the scene, and then we're gonna jump to scene 1, and here we're gonna create a new empty object as well. So we're gonna say music track 1, and go back to audio, and drop in the music track 1 in here. Make sure check it on play on wake and loop, and volume. Let me just try 0.8 or 0.9. Either one works. 2D sound as well, and save the scene and go to the main menu. And main menu, I'm gonna create a game object, rename it to music main menu, and assign the main menu background music to it. Check on play on wake and loop. Volume I'm gonna keep as 1 because I think the volume is a bit low. And then here's one small thing I forgot to set. So first is the max distance of the audio. So how far you want the sound to spread. So here we want the sound to be, we want to be able to listen to it from a really long distance. So here I'm gonna just put, really big, 100,000. Okay, 100,000. And then also we want it to be at the same location as our camera. So in the main menu scene, our main camera, as you can see, how far away is it from the sound source? Okay, so we're gonna just drop this music main menu into the main camera. So as we drop it in, it doesn't change the position, but if we zero out X, Y, and Z, you will see that the music will stay with the camera, right? Because the position is relevant to its parent object. In this case, is the main camera. Let's select our main camera, and here let's just add a component. Let's search for audio listener. It's cut out, so but you can find it if you search audio. So here's the audio listener. Okay, so once we have the audio listener, so now I just have to save the scene, go back to the first scene, go to the music track. First, change the max distance so we'll be able to hear it from a really long distance. And then for the music track, I want to bring it into here. I want to bring it into my car group. Okay, it don't have to be attached to the camera group, just the car group is fine because it's going to move with the car. And then we're going to zero out its position value. So now if we select the music track, press F key, so now you can see that the music will stay with our vehicle. Okay, so we can hear it all the time. So now Command S key to save this scene and do the same thing for scene 2. Okay, so first select the music track, make it really big, this max distance number, and then move it into the car group. Move it into the car group. Here we go. And zero out is position. Oops. Okay, so now you can see that the music is inside of our car. All right, so now I'm gonna do a test of everything, the buttons and the music, and see if everything works. So here, let's start it. Okay, so that's what I said. If you feel the music is too loud, you can lower it down. You can lower the volume down. Okay, but here's one thing. So remember we have a countdown time. Actually, I want the music to start to play after the countdown time. Okay, so you know what you can do. Just modify the script, right? So you can go back to the countdown script control, which is here. Here's the countdown script. So let's just copy this part. Okay, because it's an audio, right? So we're gonna be audio source, and here we're gonna see BG music. Okay, and what we're gonna do here is after the countdown is over, so 3, 2, 1, and then here we're gonna start to play the music. Okay, so so here we're going to just add it here, yes. So we can basically just copy this part and then replace it with the background music. So background music gonna play. All right, so that's it. So you declare it here, and then you need it to play after the countdown time is over. So Command S key to save it, and once you switch back to Unity, wait until the script updated. So because we are netting the script to play, right? Countdown time is over. So probably we have to change something on the music. So here we're gonna go to the car music track. So instead of play on week, we're gonna check it off. So that way the script going to call it. Does that make sense? So the script gonna call it after the countdown time is over. Now let's select the countdown script holder. So here's the background music, we have to assign it. So let's assign the music track 1. Oops, music track 1 onto it. So that's the music track 1 for the attached to the car, assign it onto here, onto the car countdown script. Okay, so now after everything is set up, so we can test play. So now it should work. So at the beginning, as we count down time, the music will not play, and after the countdown time is over, it's gonna play. See? All right, so now it works perfectly, and we can, we'll just do the same thing in the second scene. So here's the second scene, and we're going to go to the car group music track 2 and turn off play on week, and then go back to its countdown script. So here we're gonna also need to assign the music track 2 here. So now yes, assign it. Boom, so we have done. So save the scene and test. So while it is counting down the time, the music will not play, and once the countdown time is over, it's gonna play. Cool. So yeah, that's everything. We have done the whole series. Now let's just publish the game. So let's go to terminal file and publish setting, build setting. So double check, make sure all of the scenes are here and the index number is correctly matching your button functions. Okay, so double check before you build it. And then for our computers, we are Mac system, so definitely gonna choose Mac as the target platform, right? And then just click on build. That's the simple thing. So click on build and put a name and click on save. And you're gonna build the game. So you're gonna usually take about like 2 minutes. It depends on how complex your game is. Okay, so I hope you learned a lot in this whole series. And the next task is create your own racing game.